My son wanted to know what it was like to be a parent, so I woke him at 2 a.m. to tell him my sock came off. Today, I'm going to recap a 2022 action fantasy film called Avatar: The Weight of Water. The film commences with the principal character, Jake Sully, describing his tranquil and unpretentious existence as the chief in Pandora alongside his family. He shares that he and his spouse Neytiri are parents to 5 children. Their 2 biological sons, Neteyam and Loak, a biological daughter, Tuck, their adopted child, Kiri, and a human child named Spider. Jake then expounds on Kiri, the offspring of his cherished late friend Grace, who tragically lost her life in assisting the Na'vi people in their fight against the humans. Regarding Spider, Jake explains that he was abandoned on Pandora when the humans were forced to retreat back to Earth after their defeat. In Jake's narration, he underscores the unity and mutual care among the children, notwithstanding their disparities in physical characteristics and skin color. Although he does mention Neytiri's disdain for Spider due to his lineage, he is the offspring of the malevolent Colonel Miles Quaritch, who nearly annihilated the Na'vi people. It comes to light that Spider was left on Pandora, since his small stature made transportation back to Earth impossible. Conversely, Kiri has developed a deep bond with Spider, cherishing him dearly. Spider, who has grown up with the Na'vi, identifies himself as one of them. During a nighttime conversation between Neytiri and Jake, they spot spaceships in the firmament. Abruptly, these spaceships descend and instigate chaos. The Omathakea territory is set ablaze, causing extensive devastation and the death of numerous creatures. From the spaceships disembark soldiers equipped with mechanized weaponry, annihilating any remaining life. Watching from a distance, Neytiri and Jake are aghast to discover that it's an RDA spaceship filled with humans intent on colonizing Pandora and establishing an additional main operating base. The story then transitions to a human laboratory, where the scientists have accomplished the creation of a Na'vi clone of the Colonel. This clone has been implanted with the memories and data amassed before the Colonel's demise. As such, the clone is fully aware of everything, except the details surrounding his death. Along with the Colonel, the scientists have replicated other soldiers who were active during the previous assault on Pandora. Consequently, the Colonel and his troops are intent on the obliteration of the Omathakea, and especially Jake. In response to the hostile intrusions, Jake orchestrates a Na'vi battalion towards the RDA supply trains, successfully infiltrating them and acquiring ammunition and sustenance. During this operation, Loak, one of Jake's sons, disobeys orders and gets injured, leading to a reprimand from Jake, who insists on adherence to orders henceforth. Simultaneously, the Colonel convenes with his superior, General Ardmore, who briefs him about the Na'vi's airborne allies, the Scouts, currently disrupting their helicopters. In light of this, the Colonel devises a strategic plan to invade the forest where they had previously encountered conflict, with the aim to collect valuable intelligence. In due course, he, accompanied by his allies, arrives at the forest where, unbeknownst to them, Jake's children are at play. The Colonel, while examining their former battleground, stumbles upon his mechanical armor, still containing his remains. Loak witnesses this event and urgently communicates with his father through a voice transmitter adorning his neck. On receiving the message, Jake advises Loak to maintain a distance and retreat silently. Simultaneously, Jake and Neytiri soar toward the forest to ascertain their children's well-being. Regrettably, in their attempt to escape, the children are apprehended by the humans. Upon closer inspection of their hand features, the Colonel identifies them as the offspring of his greatest adversary. At this moment, Neytiri and Jake make their appearance and launch an attack against the soldiers, successfully liberating most of their children except Spider, who is seized by the malevolent humans. When the Colonel later inquires about Spider's identity, he promptly recognizes him as his own progeny. Returning to Omathakea, Jake approaches Neytiri, recommending that they abandon their current home and head for the eastern seaboard. His apprehensions stem from the possibility of Spider inadvertently divulging their whereabouts to the Colonel and his crew. Jake further explains to Neytiri that as long as he remains with the tribe, the humans will persist in their assaults, given that he was the one who originally dispatched Colonel Quaritch. Neytiri is initially reluctant to leave their stunning homeland, but acknowledging the validity of her husband's arguments, she consents to the migration. Concurrently, General Ardmore subjects Spider to a brutal interrogation technique involving a rotating device, hoping to extract vital information from him. Despite the pressure, Spider remains fiercely loyal to his Na'vi guardians and refuses to yield. Unexpectedly, witnessing his son's distress prompts the colonel to intervene, terminating the ordeal and indicating to the general that he will take over Spider's handling. Subsequently, in a private setting, the colonel attempts to reassure Spider of his good intentions and discloses his plan to return him to Earth. This revelation softens Spider's stance, and he ultimately acquiesces to cooperate. In the succeeding scene, Jake and his entire family depart their ancestral home, soaring on their scouts. After a few days of travel, they arrive at a place named Neteyam, inhabited by another Na'vi tribe. Interestingly, the Na'vis residing here exhibit lighter skin tones and have an affinity for aquatic environments. Upon observing Jake and his entourage, the Neteyam Na'vis mock their appearance. The tribe's leader, Tonowari, along with his wife, soon arrives and exhibits a degree of suspicion regarding Jake and his family, speculating about their ability to survive in an aquatic setting. In a bid to protect his family, Jake assures Tonowari that they will quickly adapt to the new environment. He also discloses the human pursuit they are fleeing from. On hearing this, Tonowari acquiesces to their stay, offering them shelter. He further instructs his children to teach Jake's offspring how to swim and maneuver their unique aquatic creatures. Following the orders, Tonowari's children accompany their newfound friends to the ocean to impart the basic aquatic skills. Concurrently, the ever-playful Loak attempts to bond with a marine creature, only to lose balance and tumble into the water, much to the amusement of Tonowari's children. Amidst these shenanigans, Kiri is seen deep underwater, demonstrating a surprising aptitude for the new environment and an ability to manipulate some of the sea creatures. The subsequent day witnesses Kiri meditating in the oceanic depths, when Tonowari's son Aonung and his companions approach her, ridiculing her and labeling her as a misfit. Prompted by this provocation, Loak intervenes, defending Kiri by landing a punch on Aonung. When Jake learns about the altercation, he sternly instructs Loak to offer an apology to Aonung, given his status as the son of the tribe leader. Despite his reluctance, Loak complies, uttering his remorse. Although Aonung outwardly accepts the apology, he harbors a lingering resentment. Determined to teach Loak a lesson, he lures him to a specific location under the guise of a swimming lesson, conveniently overlooking the presence of dangerous aquatic predators. Later, as Loak is preoccupied with fishing, a massive predator charges at him. Stricken with terror and unable to find assistance, Loak appears doomed. Suddenly, a colossal creature named Payakan intervenes, dispatching the predator swiftly with its broad head. Here we learn that Payakan is a tulkun, a species characterized by its peaceable and intellectual nature. Thousands of tulkuns inhabit the sea, revered by the Neteyam as their spiritual kin. Among these, Payakan stands as the largest and most formidable. Simultaneously, Payakan rescues Loak, bringing him to the surface. Loak further aids Payakan by extracting some embedded harpoons, causing the Payakan's pain. This shared experience fosters a strong bond between them, marking the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Upon returning to land, Loak is summoned by Tonowari. The austere leader has discovered his son's misdemeanors and expects Aonung to apologize. However, Loak, demonstrating his selflessness, assumes full responsibility and absolves Aonung of any blame. This act of magnanimity finally convinces Aonung that the new arrivals are not the antagonists they seemed. In due course, Loak reunites with his sibling and friends, recounting how Payakan saved him. To his astonishment, his story is met with disbelief. Instead, they disclose that Payakan is considered a dangerous creature, shunned by the other tulkuns. Parallel to these events, Spider imparts some Na'vi cultural knowledge to the colonel, leading him to Hallelujah Mountain to select a scout. Initially, the colonel struggles to control the creature, but soon masters the skill, proceeding to soar around. Shortly after, he receives intelligence on Jake's probable location and directs his troops toward the Neteyam reef. Upon arrival, he interrogates the aquatic Navis about Jake's whereabouts. The Navis deny any knowledge, prompting the humans to execute one of them and set fire to their dwellings. Unyielding, the Navis maintain their denial. Frustrated, the Colonel signals his team to proceed with their alternative strategy. The Colonel now devises a strategy to eliminate the Tulkuns en masse, hoping that such an action would inevitably draw out Jake. However, an added incentive is the prized fluid located within the Tulkuns' brains, a substance known to enhance lifespan. On Earth, even a single liter of this valuable liquid could be sold for millions. Shortly, hunters commence their pursuit of these aquatic beasts. They embed numerous trackers within the creatures, incapacitating them in the process. One particularly distressing scene showcases a mother Tulkun ruthlessly slain, her young one lying beside her in horror. Eventually, the human invaders retreat, leaving the trackers still embedded within the Tulkuns. Upon discovering the atrocities committed against their aquatic allies, the Neteyam grow furious, planning to retaliate against the attackers. Jake, however, manages to pacify them, emphasizing the necessity to first inform the Tulkuns about the trackers to avert future onslaughts. Upon hearing this, Loak immediately sets out to notify his closest ally, Payakan, about the situation. Aonung and several other locals join him. After some time, they locate Payakan and begin the task of extracting the tracker. However, their actions are interrupted by the sudden arrival of the Colonel and his hunting party aboard their whale ship. Sensing imminent danger, Loak communicates with his father, updating him on the current circumstances. Just in time, they successfully remove the tracker from Payakan and conceal themselves underwater, even as the Colonel's crew initiates their search. Simultaneously, Jake informs Tonowari about the missing children, causing considerable concern for the tribal leader. He promptly mobilizes his people for warfare. Jake and Neytiri too arm themselves, and together they proceed toward the impending battle. Meanwhile, the Colonel instructs his crew to initiate their assault on the Tulkuns and locate Jake's offspring. After a thorough search, they manage to apprehend Kiri and Tuck, entangling them within a net. Despite his best efforts to shred the net, Loak ends up being dragged along with it to the whale ship. The Colonel swiftly appears and shackles them to the ship's railing. He seizes Loak's collar transmitter and demands Jake's surrender in exchange for his children's safety. Left with no alternatives, Jake concedes to his demands. Concurrently, Payakan observes his friend Loak, chained to the deck, and decides to intervene. In a daring maneuver, he leaps onto the deck, brandishing his colossal fins, causing chaos among the soldiers and damaging the ship. Capitalizing on the ensuing chaos, Jake and the Neteyam launch their counterattack on the Colonel and his forces. Their objective is not only to rescue their children, but also to exact revenge. In the midst of the battle, Spider sabotages the whale ship's controls, causing it to crash into rocks and gradually flood. Subsequently, Jake, alongside his eldest son Neteyam, swiftly ascend the deck to liberate Loak, Tuck, and Kiri. They command the children to retreat to safety, but Loak firmly rejects their orders, instead choosing to rescue his adopted brother, Spider. Neteyam accompanies him, and after some exploration, they locate Spider. As they're on the brink of vacating the ship, the Colonel spots them and commences firing. Tragically, a bullet hits Neteyam, inflicting a grave wound. Both Loak and Spider promptly evacuate him to the shore, delivering him to their mother. However, due to the critical blood loss, he succumbs to his injuries. Witnessing her son's demise firsthand, Neytiri breaks into uncontrollable sobbing and heart-rending screams. Simultaneously, the malevolent Colonel successfully apprehends Kiri and Tuck using his scown. Subsequently, he communicates with Jake, unveiling the fact that he now holds both his daughters captive. On hearing this, Jake manages to comfort Neytiri, persuading her to aid him in their daughter's rescue. Overcome with fury, she complies, summoning her scown, arming herself with her bow and quiver, and embarking on her flight towards the ship. Before long, Jake confronts the ship, triggering an explosion that eradicates the Colonel's troops. Neytiri arrives soon after, dispatching arrows at the surviving humans, eliminating them instantaneously. Meanwhile, Jake locates his youngest daughter, Tuck, liberating her. Concurrently, the Colonel appears, holding Kiri hostage at knife point. He coerces Jake to surrender his weapons, to which Jake reluctantly agrees. Simultaneously, a vindictive Neytiri apprehends Spider, threatening his life. Initially, the Colonel denies any connection to Spider, but Neytiri's threatening slice on the boy's chest forces him to release Kiri. As Neytiri and her family prepare to evacuate, the Colonel threatens Jake, vowing to hunt him down and kill him once again. Later, Jake understands that to secure a peaceful existence, the Colonel must be eradicated. He consequently returns to the battleground. This time, an old-school fistfight ensues between the arch-nemesis. The duel is grueling, with both contenders evenly matched, but ultimately, our protagonist Jake triumphs. He manages to ensnare the Colonel in a chokehold, rendering him unconscious. Believing the Colonel to be deceased, Jake abandons him to the water's mercy. Unfortunately, Jake too struggles to breathe and begins to sink. At this critical juncture, Loak intervenes, rescuing him and guiding him back to the surface. Later, Payakan transports the entire family back to the shore. Meanwhile, Spider also rescues his biological father from the water, saving his life. However, when the Colonel urges him to abandon the place with him, Spider declines, choosing instead to return to his adoptive family. In the concluding scene, Jake's family and the entire Metkayina tribe conduct a burial ceremony for Neteyam at the ocean's depth, where luminescent underwater life forms envelop him as if welcoming him as one of their own. The film concludes with Jake reminiscing about the cherished memories of his elder son, realizing that he has ascended to be with their deities. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.